He says, wouldn't have Jesus said, keep the Passover in remembrance of me. But Christ didn't say this when he demonstrated the Lord's Supper. He said, do this in remembrance of me. The word of God is our authority. I'm going to guess, and I could be wrong on this, but
amen. The word of God is our authority.
I'm going to guess that Unashamed of Jesus is attempting to use this as a argument for the Lord's Supper or the Eucharist. Okay, I'm going to go into my personal note stash, which I like to call the information station, and I'm going to do that because I have written extensively on this specific argument. And so this is not going to be too long. It's about a half a page. I give some references here, but I'm going to read this and then I'm going to let Rob comment on the argument that I have put forward. The Last Supper is framed with the preparation and eating of the Pascha, a word that is used 6 times in chapter 22. Jesus now proclaims, do this, tautu peoite. The language employed here can be found within the Passover narrative of Exodus 12, that is within the Septuagint, where Moses tells Israel they are to do, poiese, the Passover. And this is what it says in Exodus 12, 47 through 48. All the congregation of Israel are to do, poiese, this, but if a stranger sojourns with you and does, poiese, the Passover to the Lord, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near to do, again, it. And he shall be like a native of the land, but no uncircumcised person may eat of it. The pronoun tautu, that is this, has already been used in Luke 22:15. This is important, by the way. I think that this is a really important point. He's already used the word this in reference to something else in verse 15. He says, I have earnestly desired to eat this, tauto, Passover, with you before I suffer. So he's already used this word and he's going to use it again now in four verses later. In 15, there is no doubt that the pronoun tauto is in reference to the Passover. And with this as the context, I believe the most plausible interpretation of tauto is in verse 19 is, once again, in the reference to the Passover. What is more, Jesus says to do this in remembrance, something that should bring to our minds back to Exodus 12:14. In 12:14 it says, "Now this is the day. Now this day will be a memorial, that is, a remembrance to you, and you shall celebrate it as a feast to the Lord." So you have both these words in verses 15 and 19. To do and this are used multiple times in reference to the Passover. And we see this in the Tanakh. Both anamnesin in Luke 22:19 and, sorry, my Greek is awful, in verse 12:14 are derived from, and I'm using a ton of Greek here. I apologize for all those who don't. Anyway, the basic point of this is that the term to do and a memorial are all used within the Torah in reference to the Passover. And not only that, but I want to make one more point, then I'm going to pass this over to Rob. Think about this. Let's flip the script just a little bit. Let's say that I have grandkids now, and I bring everybody into my home, my kids, my grandkids, and I say, hey, I want you guys to set up the Christmas tree. You know, I have really my entire life longed to celebrate Christmas with you and my grandkids. And I hope when I'm gone, you'll do this in remembrance of me. Would my kids and my grandkids say, hey, Grandpa's telling us to make a new festival in remembrance of him that's totally separate from Christmas? No, of course not. Everyone would know exactly what I was talking about. And yet, when we read Christ do the exact same thing in the reference to the Passover, the church says, oh, he's creating something new. No, he says to them, go and prepare the Pascha. I have earnestly desired to eat this Pascha with you. Do this in remembrance of me. Do what in remembrance of him? He has said Pascha 6 times before this. I think it is surely implied. And the notion that he is telling us to do something different, even though he's using the exact words that are found in the Greek Septuagint of Exodus 12, to me cannot be supported.